Okay, I think it's recording.
Hi. Hey. So we had the Indian Child Welfare Act, also known as Icwa.
So the outline of this presentation is just going to cover the overview of the entire act, the goals of the legislation, the benefits and services that it provides, the eligibility, service delivery, and then how Icwa is financed, and then just analyzing the strengths and the weaknesses.
All right. So a brief overview of the legislation. There's 7 parts to it. Section 1901 is the congressional findings. Section 1902, Congressional Declaration of Policy. Section 3, 1903 is the definitions. Subchapter 1, Child Custody Proceedings, followed by subchapter 2, which is the Indian Child and Family Programs. Then you have subchapter 3, which is record keeping, information availability, and timetables. And lastly, subchapter 5, which is provisions.
Okay, so the goal of the legislation, it's easier just to read what their actual goal is from the actual legislation. So I'm just going to read a quote that I have from the actual law. The Congress hereby declares that it is the policy of this nation to protect the best interests of Indian children and to promote the stability and security of Indian tribes and families by the establishment of minimum federal standards for the removal of Indian children from their families and the placement of such children in foster or adoptive homes, which will reflect the unique values of Indian culture, and by providing for assistance to Indian tribes in the operation of child and family service programs. So basically, a lot of words, but it just means that they are keeping families within their culture and heritage.
So some of the goals of the legislation, this is taken from the National Indian Child Welfare Association. So it talked a lot about the safety of Native Americans, children's, to cultivate safe, healthy, and cultural strong environments for the Native children. Also, their spiritual strength and their positive cultural identity. Also talks about to be a strong voice for those needs of the children that are American Indian and also Alaska Native children. And then it also talks about ways to advocate for facilitate the proper implementation of the Child Welfare Act, to promote the provisions of the services to Native children by child welfare workers, and to also provide education and leadership opportunities for tribal and urban Indian children welfare workers.
So benefits and services for this legislation. One of the biggest benefits would be that the children are not being removed from their families, as in they'll go to an aunt or an uncle or grandparent first rather than just being placed with a stranger, kind of like what we talked about today in class, just family preservation, and to be placed with a native family. So if they can't be placed with their family, then someone from their tribe or someone who has their heritage, who understands their cultural background. And then so some of the benefits and services would be family assistance with daycares, home counseling, after school care, guidance, finding legal help and support, home improvement programs. So the list just goes on and on. Basically, through this act, they're preparing families to take in kids either through adoption or foster care, whatever the kid may need. Yeah.
They also talked about how important it is to have the kin relations.
Oh, yeah.
And how important it is to really keep the families with the children with their tribe and their family. So then we talk about
eligibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for a child to qualify for the protection and the benefits of Icwa, he or she must be a member of the Indian tribe or Alaskan Native, which is clearly defined in the Act and can be found in Section 1903, 3 through 8. So some of the things that it had talked about was how they have to be unmarried, they have to be under the age of 18, and they also have to belong to a tribe, whether or not that's biologically related to a tribe member or qualifies to be part of the tribe from a legal standpoint.
Yeah, so there's like a federal definition of what it means to be a part of a tribe, and so in order for a child to qualify under Icwa and to be protected by it, they have to like legally be a part of a tribe. And so this is just something that a little chart I found that helps with knowing if someone's eligible for it. So it just says, is the child under the age of 18 and unmarried? No, so it'd be the normal state procedures. And then you just go through the series of questions. Is the child a member of a federally recognized tribe? Yes or no? So the child would have status at that point. If not, then the child would, you would ask, is the child eligible for membership and biological child of a tribal member? So would they biologically be able to be related to a tribe member? And again, it's just a yes or no. So that kind of helped me understand just the technical term for it.
So then we talked about the delivery of benefits and the services that they're eligible for. The services that are
the delivery of it
provided for them.
So basically how they're delivered is through like social workers, through people who like through the courts, through families, really through the families that are taking them in. So I mean, it would be through like professionals, educated and well experienced individuals who are experts in like the tribal court, who know like their heritage and their culture. So really the services are through the people that are providing, whether it's like counseling or education or stuff like that.
Yeah, and those that really know their heritage well and like how to better interact with them. So next we talk about how the legislation is financed. It is a nonprofit, which you can find in the 501c3 organization, and they get their funding through tribal membership, individuals, tribes, corporate donations, fundraising events, program contracts, curriculum sales, as well as foundation and government grants.
Yeah, so Icwa itself is just funded through federal grants, and it varies depending on like whether they're on a reservation or off a reservation, and what qualifies them for that. And then the National Indian Child Welfare Association is the nonprofit organization. So, and then the impact of legislation, I think one of the biggest things that I saw for the impact would be, again, the National Indian Child Welfare Association program. And they had 6 areas of impact for the child welfare industry, which would be, they would target child abuse and neglect, the Indian Child Welfare Act, foster care and adoption, the child's mental health, youth engagement, and juvenile justice.
So some strengths and concerns that we found were, some strengths is maintaining the Native heritage and cultural awareness, and how important that is for the children and also the tribe members. Children have the right to stay with a family or tribal members. And the last strength was children's tribal identity protected and preserved. One of the concerns that we found was really enforcing this policy and how it's been proven challenging for placing children within their heritage.
It's hard to find homes, basically, and just to kind of stay on top of that with like how many kids there are in the system where they'll get like placed in a home that isn't of their heritage. So it's kind of hard to keep track of everything. Yeah. And that's it.
That is all we have.
Thank you guys.